Hello and welcome to this Vector Connect video. Today we will be looking at how to set up OBS Studio for Windows. Please note that OBS is also available for Macs and Linux operating systems, so the principles covered here will also apply to those operating systems. Also, please note that before you get started setting up OBS, it's necessary to have a Vimeo live event created that will have given you a streaming key to use for the setup. If you do not already have OBS, it can be downloaded from obsproject.com, where free versions for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux is available. Once you've downloaded and installed OBS and opened it up the first time, it'll prompt you to go through a wizard setting up a stream. Since I've already had OBS open several times, I'll need to open this wizard manually. You can go to Tools and Auto Configuration Wizard to start it up. Now select Optimize for streaming. Recording is secondary. OBS will suggest some settings here, which you can largely accept. It takes the size of your desktop and it'll try to stream in 60 FPS if possible, but will downgrade to 30 if needed. Click Next. Now we will need to select the service provider for which to stream to. OBS will most likely default to Twitch, so we need to find Vimeo in the list of available service providers. Do this by clicking the drop-down button, go to Show All, and find Vimeo on the list. This will prompt you to insert the stream key, which is the string that you get from setting up a Vimeo live event on vimeo.com. If you do not have a streaming key at this point in time, make sure to stop your setup, obtain a streaming key from your account admin, and then come back to this video until we complete the next steps. I'll insert one of my streaming keys so we can get going. Now we have two options which are pre-ticked. Leave those ticked and we will press Next. Since we left the check mark for the bandwidth test, we are getting this prompt. You are okay to press Yes to have the system test for your best bandwidth setting. So let's press Yes. This will generate a new window sending some random test data to Vimeo and trying to gauge the best bitrate setting for your system. This can take a couple of minutes. As you can see, we now have the test results, and your results might be different to my screen here. The predominant factor is the video bitrate, which is set to 10,000, and that is quite high. So we will go in and change that in settings later. But for now, we will go Apply Settings. The next thing we're gonna do is set up a source. It's done by clicking the plus sign. And the main thing we need to add is obviously a video capture device. So let's click that. We can call that Camera 1, and we will click OK. We now get a prompt that has a webcam showing, and we have some different settings we can change. We don't need to change any of these settings, simply click OK. Now our source is added as Camera 1, and you can see the small eye icon signifying that it is visible. We can now drag and adjust the position of our canvas for this camera. And since this is a webcam, OBS automatically scales it down and puts it into a corner. But we can now drag it and adjust it to the center of the screen. Now our camera is centered. This camera is currently only displaying in a 4:3 view, thereby leaving black bars on either side of the view. Your camera might be inputting in 16:9, thereby being able to fill out the entire window. Additionally, we most likely want to also add a microphone. This is done the same way by going on the plus sign under Sources and selecting an audio input capture. This can be called Audio 1. Since I'm already using my audio capture device to record this video, it might not be available in the list. However, we can choose to use the webcam as well as an audio recording device. Select that and select OK. We now have an audio recording device and a camera, and we are now ready to stream, as we will be able to send a video and an audio feed. As you can see to the right here, we now have an audio mixer that is showing the input level of what I'm saying. If you want to reduce this audio level, you can drag this slider and you can reduce it down, as you can see here. Now, I have to talk very loudly to be able to capture any audio. So let's bring it back up again a little bit. It's ideal to have the audio hover just around the yellow part. So let's bring it back down a little bit. There we go. If for some reason you have multiple inputs that are reacting, you can simply toggle this mute icon out here to stop it entirely. You can do this during your stream as well. So if you're controlling your stream on a secondary device and you think the audio is either a little bit too loud or a little bit too low, you can adjust it live. You can also see that our camera technically comes in as an audio device as well. And we have computer sound. If you want to make absolutely sure that nothing interrupts your stream outside of the audio that you want, make sure to mute these two as well. We now have video and audio, and we're ready to stream. We simply do this by clicking Start Streaming over here. Starting the stream gives us some information in the bottom part of OBS. Going from right to left, we can see how many kilobits per second that we're broadcasting with. This is the 10,000 number that we saw from before, and we want to go in and change this because this is a very high bit rate to stream with. Then you can see our frames per second, which is at 30. You can see the CPU load. If we were also recording this video, we would see how much we've recorded, and we can see the live symbol is here. Green indicates that we are live and that we have successfully connected to the stream key that we are using. Finally, you can see dropped frames, which is an indication of how steady your connection is. If you have a high amount or a high percentage of dropped frames, it could signify that you need to reduce your bit rate or maybe reduce the size of your output as well. Now that we've been streaming for a little bit, let's make sure that we stop the stream. It's done by so, and as you can see now, we no longer have the green icon down here, and a lot of our live information disappeared as well. So now you've successfully streamed via OBS. If we want to, we can go into some settings here. On the General tab, we have some basic settings. Two settings that could be applicable is to show confirmation dialogues when starting streams and stopping streams. If we've applied those, it looks like such. Starting a stream generates a dialog to click accept. And likewise, stopping a stream also gives a dialog to accept. This can be beneficial the first time somebody is streaming to make sure that the streaming starts and stops as intended. Going back into settings, we can go to the Stream tab as well. If we ever need to change our streaming key, maybe we need to delete an event and create a new one, this would be in here that we change our streaming key. Also, if you need to make sure you have the correct streaming key, you can choose to show it and go over it character by character. Then we can go to Output, and this is where we change the video bitrate. As we talked about, 10,000 is quite high, so I will lower this to 6,000. We generally recommend not going any lower than 2,500, and most connections should be able to sustain 4,000. But if your internet connection is really strong, you can up it to 6,000 if you want to. Furthermore, the audio bitrate is at 256, which is also quite good quality. And if you are experiencing any audio issues with your stream, you can lower this to 192 or 160. We generally don't recommend going any lower than 128. So let's say that we wanted to lower ours now to 160. This is technically the only tab that you need to consider when you're streaming. But if you want to, you can click through the other tabs and see which settings are in there. Click Apply, click OK. If we start our stream again, we can now see in a second that our kilobits per second is significantly lower than the 10,000 that we had before. This is one way to reduce the strain on your bandwidth if needed. It can also have an impact on how well your members are viewing the stream. If the bandwidth is set too high, they could have issues viewing the stream. This concludes our guide on how to set up OBS. Thanks for watching.